All right, everybody, welcome here to a review of Quilt Pattern Indexer 5 point, or should I say 1.5. We'll get that right. I'll have to put it up here on the screen. We're doing a Zoom session because we are in the final beta release here, and I wanted to introduce it out to people. We're going to have one more patch fix here, and then it's going to be released, but there shouldn't be any changes in features. This video is going to be going out on YouTube as well on our MK Quilts University site. For those of you who don't know who we are and are just stumbling across this, MK Quilts is actually my wife's company, and she was nice enough to hire me on several years ago. She's been quilting since 2008. Right now she's producing in the background, which is usually a reverse role from what we normally do. She is the one in front of the camera. She's much better looking than I am. But this is a technical discussion, software discussion. I am the computer nerd behind the beauty. So nerd in the beast, I guess. So we're going to get going here. MK Quilts started out providing quilting services. Then Melissa started to learn Pro Stitcher, and she became a Pro Stitcher training. She was featured by Handy Quilter. And we are a Handy Quilter retailer. We have some great floor model discounts right now because we sell dozens of machines across the country. We support them all, but sometimes we've got to ship some machines around to people that might be having issues. And we've got a couple of those machines. They're all less than a couple years old, and they're heavily discounted right now. So be sure to check us out. The MK Quilts University came into being just here in 2020, and nobody's going to forget this year. But early in the year, we started setting this university up where a lot of Melissa's content was moved over onto this platform. And instead of having to pay for each video, you just paid a small monthly charge. And by doing that, we started restructuring how we did training. We started doing live webinars, and lo and behold, we literally had hundreds of people join in just a couple months. It's been amazing, and people have been eating it up. And this type of communication here is just one example of what we do. So I wanted to introduce us. We need to move along here pretty quick because I'm going to start sharing my screen and start going over QPI, Quilt Pattern Indexer. For those of you who this is the second version, please bear with me. I'm going to cover some of the basics. But I'm going to go over basically the manual very briefly. And then for those of you who do attend the MK Quilts University, we'll leave it free, but we will also be creating a course that touches each topic in more detail and, you know, with the video, some training type stuff. So if you're not learning it because I'm going fast, don't worry so much. All right, so I am a multi-screen person, so there's something off here to the right. And Melissa is monitoring the chat, so I'm going to ignore it, but I will stop and ask for questions. Is there anything I should know, Melissa, before I start?
I just dropped a note in the chat. You had said the machines were less than a couple years old. The machines that we have for sale are just a few months old. So just clarifying that.
And she has to live with this, you know, so yes, listen to what she says. All right, so yes, they're less than 3 months old, all of them, and a lot of them don't even have a million stitches on them yet. They're just been service units. So with that said, I am going to share my screen. All right, so we're going to start out here with Quilt Pattern Indexer, the website. Okay, it's sort of the chicken and the egg routine. If you're here watching this, somehow you heard about QPI, or you're either a previous owner or you just found it on YouTube. But if you go to quiltpatternindexer.com, that's the website. And from there, you can download the software by going to the download page. Now I'm going to go full screen here. Okay, there we go. Menus look a little better this way. So you can go to download. You can run the program for 14 days. You simply just click on the download button and it downloads. Now, some people have reported, because this is a newer program out there, that their antivirus flags it. Just trust it, because as you go through this, you can click it to run. This window comes up, and if you click more info, you can see we are the publisher. It says right there. So we are a known publisher, and you can tell it to run anyways. Depending on the number of antivirus programs or type of antivirus programs, you might have other boxes that pop up, but I haven't found one where I couldn't work around it. Now, I've already licensed this program, so it didn't pop up this about window, but if you haven't licensed it, it'll tell you you have 14 days left to use the program. All right. Now, I'm going to try and follow my script here so I don't jump around here right now. QPI is really just for viewing patterns. It does not include patterns in it, and I wanted to make that clear. The new version here on most of the dialog boxes all have help buttons, which you'll see that can take you straight to the manual. Why am I so hardcore on the manual? Well, before you call, go to the manual. We have a lot of information here. Okay. If you're getting red X's, you're not on the 1.5 version, because we've done a lot to fix and accommodate for error conditions. You have the QPI community group on Facebook that you can go to as well. And then if you do need to talk to us about a problem with QPI, go through our website. Here's a link. It'll allow you to book some time where we can call you back, okay? So the other thing that I've been getting feedback on is they want a hard copy of this manual. I tried to save it to a PDF for this course, and it sort of worked. It's downloadable right here, but I am going to be updating this regularly with more training, more videos. So you probably not worth your time to print it out, but I try to please everybody. All right. We went through installation, and when it comes down to activation, you can go purchase the key. You are allowed to download a program which basically puts the key into your registry on your computer. You can use that same activation key to activate as many of your own computers as you want. Obviously, don't share it. I trust the community in general here. Everyone's out there to, try and support us and keep us going, which is really good. So the activation key is out there, and all it does is tells your computer that you've purchased it. Okay. Now, before I move on, I use a couple terms that I wanted to make sure people understood are synonyms. I'm an old school. I will use the term directory sometimes, but most everything now in the program talks about a folder. Okay, when we talk about where your patterns are, they're in folders. If I should say directory, I'm sorry about that. Patterns and designs in our situation here are the same. Okay, we're talking about patterns for Handy Quilter Pro Stitcher right now only. Let's see. HQV, HQF, and QLI programs, or patterns. Now, the question I've gotten a lot, and ladies and gentlemen, I am not currently supporting sorry, this is a good time to chop it out. Embroidery patterns, okay? People want their embroidery patterns supported by this. I am going to make an announcement at the end of the video here, so keep me on the toes about where and when I'm going to move forward on that and why, okay? But for now, I just want to make it clear we're dealing with the patterns that Handy Quilter Pro Stitcher uses. All right.
Can I just interject one thing?
Yes, a
When
wide
we
one.
refer to Handy Quilter Pro Stitcher, let's just keep Pro Stitcher a little bit broader. Pro Stitcher, the product, goes on a handful of other machines other than just Handy Quilter. Okay, so if any of you out there, maybe you're Baby Lock owners or Janome owners, King Quilter, there's a couple of other ones that I'm not pulling off the top of my head. Just know that is if you are a Pro Stitcher owner, you can use QPI.
All right, perfect. Yes, there's Pro Stitcher Designer software now that's out. They're going to manipulate these same types of files as well. So let's see what we can do here. All right, I am going to talk a little bit about finding patterns here. I mentioned it once already. The Quilt Pattern Indexer program does not contain any of these files, okay? You have to get them on your disk, on your hard drive, and then QPI indexes, it reads through the directories, the folders that you tell it to, and uses that as its data, okay? Now, unfortunately, we can't support encrypted patterns, all right? It's another thing that if the designer wants to reach out to us and we can work together so that we can read their encrypted files just to get a picture of them, because that's all we really do. We don't stitch out with it. If you got a favorite designer, or if you're a designer out there right now, we'd love to talk to you about it, all right? We're not trying to be exclusive, but if it takes a special key to open it up and run it, we can't view it, all right? So let's start out with a quick overview of the QPI program. It is a viewer, and it's built in two halves with the tree half on the left and what I call the thumbnail side on the right. And I'm going to bring it up here. Now, the designs folder is the default folder for Handy Quilter's included designs. If there's nothing in the folder, it's going to tell you nothing in the folder. All right. You click on a folder with designs, it's going to create some very nice thumbnails. And when you click on it once, or if you're on a touchscreen, you tap it, it opens it up, and you can see which keywords have been assigned. You can assign new keyword to it. All right. You can right click. I'm going just real quick as an overview. You can rotate it different ways. When you exit, it'll ask you, do you want that to become the new thumbnail? I'll say no, doesn't need to. All right, so from just an overview, it's a standard Windows program with a slight caveat of, to make it more usable, instead of one click being select, like over here, I can select the folder. Over here, to select something, I have to click the select button. And then I can select one, I can select two, I can use the shift button to select many in a row. I can use the Control A to select all. All right, Control A again. Control A does not unselect them all. So that does though. All right, other things you'll see in here that I should probably just let go, but little HQV versus HQF, you're going to see the different formats. There's a lot of nice things on here, but you basically have your folders, and below your folders, you have, let me close this up, your keywords.
Can we interject a question about file format types?
Yes.
So Deb wants to know, her question was, Pro Stitcher also runs design with a .txt file extension. Will QPI read those files?
No. My understanding is that the .txt is no longer going to be supported by Handy Quilter. If I hear differently, we can look at it. It's probably another vector scenario. We will definitely throw that on the Facebook group, and we'll see what we can do to support that format. And all right, email a sample pattern to me at qpi@mkquilts.com. That'll be another way to make sure it gets queued up here. So qpi@mkquilts.com. All right. So there's a question out there, is this how we also update? Yes, you can just like updating ProStitcher, all you need to do is run the new version or the old version of the software to go to that version, and it will install over the top. All right. So discussing the left side of the screen still here, where did all these keywords come from? You know, why do I have keywords there? To be honest, that's Melissa's latest set of keywords, and I hope to refresh it once before we do the release. But this is where your keywords would show up. So if you click alphabet, click Asian, you can click, see which ones are there. Melissa in other videos has explained that she assigns price points to some of her edge-to-edge patterns. There's a lot of different ways you can use keywords. So I am going to leave it at that because we get into a little bit more detail, but the key thing here is understanding the difference in how we try to keep this simple and more usable in the touch environment as well. Now, let's see. Cover that. All right, we're going down here. So let's say you wanted to see an example of how the search works. You select a folder and it will search within that folder. Okay, so from here it'll search everything. If I just do it under HQ Designs, it's only going to search the folders, the subfolders of that folder. So I go up here and let's just say I want to pick leaf. All right, all of those things in their name have leaf or in their keywords have leaf. Click leaf. All right, Melissa puts free with PS as a keyword. That's a good one too. So there's a lot of flexibility there. Now, the other thing with the search is any searches you did in this session get saved down here. So if we did another search for dog, and then we said, well, I want to go back and see my leaves, I can go back to see my leaves. Now, should you be loading other patterns, these searches aren't run a second time. They're just showing you what they found the first time, unless you right click and say repeat the search. All right, so we'll talk a little about these context dependent, the context dependent menus in a second here. Now, the number one enhancement that people asked from our previous version was, how do I search for files that do not have keywords? Now you go up here and you use a double quote and a double quote. So between the double quotes, there's nothing. That is the secret now, to hit enter, and it'll show you only the thumbnails of things that do not have keywords. And I can hear the applause in the background.
Oh, I like that. The boss is very happy about that one.
Okay. Now here again, you can do this if you just had a single folder here and you do it at that single folder. Oh, nothing in that folder is not indexed, okay? But let's say, oh, there's a bunch of these.
It's
and
not,
you notice
not keyworded, not in, it's indexed, but not
it's
keyworded.
indexed but not keyworded. Yes, keep me honest.
Thank you.
So something else you'll notice is instead of having to hit the plus to break these things open, just to make it simpler, if you click on it, it's going to open it up, and you can always shrink it back down with the minus. Here again, just trying to keep things efficient. So let's go see whether Sue has any. Oh, there is one in here that does not have any keywords. So that was a big ask that we put in here. All right. So if you're using a touch screen and you want to get the right click menu on it, what you do is you touch and you hold until a box appears around your finger, and then you let up, and that will pull up a menu. All right, that's the trick with the touch. When I talk about context dependent and right click menu, those are synonyms as well. I'm meaning the same thing. You're going to have a different menu here than if you clicked over an item over here. You see the menu's different. All right.
There's hands clapping going on, just so you
Yay!
know.
Okay.
And
So,
there is a question that I would want to go back to. So when you have a breaking point, we'll go back.
all right. So here's the third context menu that's different is on the preview window. So you got basically the tree window, the thumbnail window, and the preview window. And all of this stuff has lots of pictures in our guide here. All right, so I went through a lot of this navigation stuff. It's all here, it's all in pictures. So you don't have to remember it all, okay? So let's go to a question. Melissa, what do we have there?
Okay, so the question was, can the thumbprints be bigger to show my customers when selecting designs? Can I address that one?
Go for it.
Can I share my screen?
Ooh, I think you can. You're a co-host. Do I
All
need
right.
to kill mine first?
I think so.
All right, stopping.
All right, so let me share my QPI. All right, so one thing that I wanted to suggest, and I know that we all have different setups in our studio, we all handle client meetings a little bit different. But if you have the ability to have multiple screens in your studio, that's what we do at MK Quilts. So what I will normally do, now we're all masked up at the current point, but I will normally say to a customer, come and look over my shoulder while I pull up designs. And if I find something that she kind of is like, oh, I like that one, I'll take that design and I'll drag it over onto a second screen that I have at the studio. And then I can continue to look for other things. If she spies something else, we'll put it over on the screen. Okay, so that's just one option. If you have the ability to do that, makes it really easy for your client to see that. If you just want to straight up make a thumbnail bigger, you can go ahead and click on it and then click the maximize button right here. And at least that will make that one design bigger on your screen. Now, the other thing that I do in my studio is sometimes we are all used to our designs, and especially for edge-to-edge designs, we know we can visualize what that's going to look like. They can't visualize what a repeated edge-to-edge is going to look like once it's all repeated and the gap is closed up. So what I will do also in my studio is I'll always have my simulator running, and I'll say, if you really like this one, let's just pop it over into my simulator. I'll repeat a couple of rows for you, and you can kind of see how it all gels together. And for my clients, they really, really appreciate being able to see it actually repeated on the screen. And that's another thing that I can just take my simulator, I can pop it up onto my bigger monitor in the studio, I can repeat it for them, and then they can see it. Okay, so does that kind of answer that question and give you a couple of ideas?
So Melissa, why don't you go to an edge-to-edge right now, bring up a pattern, and then send it to ProStitcher?
Okay, well, that's something new, isn't it?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, so I'm going to assume that we can right click and open in ProStitcher Designer or open in ProStitcher Premium. Now, I did not have my ProStitcher launched, so it is starting in the background. I know you can't see it right now, so I'll do a new share. But basically all that just happened was it took that design and it popped it immediately into ProStitcher.
So now you can repeat it and do what you want with it.
And right, and so now I can show him or her what it looks like repeated. Now that right there, that is maybe something that's very, you're very happy about that function. I think for me, that's going to take a little bit of getting used to because I don't work with QPI in that manner generally. When I'm building layouts, when I'm working on quilts, I have already pre-populated my folders to contain designs that I think I might want to work with. But this, let's let a customer see something in just a couple of clicks. You can choose a design and you can just send it right to ProStitcher and open it up. Lickety split. Do I hear do I hear or see hands clapping on that one?
All right, I'm taking control back. Good job,
Okay.
dear. All right, so, oh, this is great. All right, so now we're going to get into the meat of QPI 1.5 and what is so different, okay? I've got the pictures of the 3 menus, and you're like, 3 menus? I thought you only had 2. We did break out the keyword functions into their own menu. We added some helpful links in here, like getting to the support website, the Facebook website, or gee, the MK Quilts University. All right, self-promotion. We will do that too. But what we're going to do real quick here is talk about the most important thing I think that people have been challenged with is file management, okay? You can go back and you can read up a little bit more technical stuff, but it's basically, how do I keep the files that I buy or bring in? And this has been probably where I've seen the most people get challenged. Now, you're quilters, you're not computer whizzes. You shouldn't be. That's not your skill, okay? Some know more than others, but what I have proposed through this standard that I've established here is a good way for you to manage your non-default patterns, okay? So Handy Quilter, because it originally was built for a machine without really thinking about the whole computer aspect of putting it on a laptop and everything else, and Windows wasn't even the main push there, they put all their designs under C:\designs. So that's really the convention that we're having to deal with, whether it's right or wrong. So on the first tab here, we have a option called Create Purchased Folders. All right. File, Create Purchased Folders. Purchase Patterns. It's a folder. Here again, here's the Help button. If you click on it, it's going to open up a tab. And actually, it's on in the other window, but it takes you straight to the same place that we were in for the manual. And so what it does is it creates a folder in your documents directory, in your home directory, where you're supposed to store your own files, and hopefully you're using some form of backup or cloud storage, which will be a totally separate topic for another day. But by doing that, we also create a link. So let me click Create, give it permission, boom. All right, so here is actually a bug, because I have to go up here and say File Refresh to see it. Like I said, we're trying to monitor it. If you ever have problems where something isn't showing up, go back and refresh the tree. All right, so you see this little symbol here. This is a link to a purchase pattern folder, which normally would be empty unless you put something in it, okay? So I actually am going to open my Explorer, which opened, and I apologize for the background thing there. I'm going to go in here and I'm going to get rid of these for this class, because we're going to put them back later. All right. So what you can do as well with this is, let's say you have some other folder that you've kept under designs. Let's say Linda isn't a standard folder. It's something you bought. You can right click on it and you can say move to, and you can put it into that folder. Okay, so now it looks like it's under your designs pattern, but in fact, excuse me one second, it is sitting in your users directory. And this is the thing, I'm a computer person and it's still frustrating. The real path to your home directory is users Paul K, you know, documents. Ha 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 ha. In my case, it's OneDrive. Documents. And you have the purchase patterns. But I'm just showing you, it's really, you know, this is the stuff where I'm trying to make it so you don't have to understand it, but you're well protected and your patterns are there. Okay, so that's the first challenge people have had. And oh, by the way, Samson is trying to get into this video. And for those who don't know who Samson is, he's our mascot. He's also a very fluffy and persistent white dog.
All right, while Samson gets introduced, I'm going to ask a couple of questions, and I just want to verify the answer that I gave to Karen. Karen wanted to know if the size of a pattern is viewable in QPI, and my answer was that unless the designer put that information in the file information that goes along with that pattern, the answer is no.
Yes, I did try and work that with our developer, and only certain pattern types, and I forget which ones, had some of that information in to be able to tell what the pattern size is. So that did not make this cut. It was beyond our current abilities with the information. Now, I'm not sure how Handy Quilter's Pro Stitcher does it, but if you do have a pattern and you take it into there, it'll show you the size within Pro Stitcher.
So just a follow-up on that, and then we have one extra question before you move on. Two things about the size of patterns. We all work with patterns that we know and love, and so we will learn our patterns and we will know what size we like certain things to be and whatnot. So there's that side of it. But one of the things that I have done with my keywording is, let's just say sashes, for instance. Now, we all know that a sash is really a border design, and some border designs can be sashes, but not all border designs are going to fit in a certain size of sash. So on my QPI, I have keyworded with the keyword narrow. So that means that if I search for sash and narrow, I'm only going to get ones that are really pretty small, that might fit like in a 1 to 1.5 kind of size. So there's, even though the size is not really easily obtainable through QPI right now, you could put some keywords on there that are going to help you. Another way that I do that with my blocks is not necessarily the size, but if it's a simple block, I will put the keyword simple, so that when I search for blocks, if I want something that's going to fit in a smaller space or something that's not going to be really dense, I'll search for simple. And so it's not necessarily exactly a size parameter, but it's a loose keyword that's helping me know what size that block is. Okay? And then the follow-up question was, when we were talking about the folders and when Paul was discussing moving a folder into a purchased area rather than the folders that come with your Pro Stitcher, that, you guys, is really personal preference as far as how you want to save your folders. I will just give you my personal preference. Doesn't mean that you have to adopt it, but what I have always recommended to my clients is that you keep the folders that came with your Pro Stitcher, especially the ones on your tablet. Now, if you move them around on your laptop and you are smart enough to know what you're doing, that's fine. But for your laptop, I've always recommended that, or for your tablet rather, I've always recommended that you just keep it the way that it came, so that you're not mucking things up. You're not putting purchased designs intermingled with things that came with the program or came with the machine, because that way, if you ever sell that machine, goes on to its new owner, you have just passed it along the way that it came to you. You don't have to worry about cleaning things out. You really should not be passing along patterns that you purchased to somebody else. That's a very gray area, something that you really want to be very careful about. So I personally think you should just leave the ones that came with it the way that it came. And then that's why that we have developed this purchased area so that you can put everything else in there. Okay, that's just my opinion. Take it or leave it.
So there are definitely different ways of doing things. I'm just making sure that I'm still up here. Okay. So in an effort to help you guys better manage your patterns and make it less complex for those that aren't comfortable with file management, after doing the created purchase folder, we have a utility in here that opens up the zipped patterns, okay? So what I am going to show you is that here in my downloads directory, I have a bunch of patterns I purchased. So much. I borrowed from Melissa and others here for this test, okay? In this folder here, you'll see that we have a couple different patterns and they're in different formats, okay? Let's see how this thing imports, okay? We'll move this off here. So we're going to go back to QPI, and this time we're going to go File, Open Pattern Zip. Now we need to tell it, we're going to go to Downloads, and this was just a priority test. We put it together. So this folder does not have any subfolders in it. It just has a bunch of patterns, okay? So we'll say Open. Now you'll notice it's only showing one instance of each of the patterns because we have this checked, show only the first copy. If I uncheck it, you're going to see we have duplicates, HQF, HQV, QLI, different formats in here. The idea being is you only need to save one of these out of the zip. You only need one triple leaves, either an HQV or HQF, you know, triangled spikes. So a lot of the patterns that you will deal with here, because I think if I go into Denise, oh, not her. Everything works better in practice. Let's go into Melinda edge to edge. I borrowed that. That's a single, nope. See, within the folder, they have multiple other formats and even a PDF. You don't need all of that in your designs folders because you can't use that to quilt with. But you need to choose one or the other. So what we have done with this utility to make it even simpler so that you don't accidentally copy 6 patterns of the same thing in there is we've implemented this thing. Now, how does it know? It says based on priority. Where do I get the priority? Well, I'm going to show you in settings how to set the priority, but right now it looks like HQV is our preferred format there. All right. The other thing here right now, if you say extract, it'll put it into the root purchased patterns folder by default. I'd prefer to have it put it in a folder called priority test. You hit extract. All right. Oops. It went behind the window. We can say close. Now you notice that is a bug. So this is why we call it a beta. I did experience this before. It had worked in test, but our current release, you should only have one copy of those in that folder, okay? That's how it's going to work when we work out that bug. It's something I found. So let's do that one more time here though. We're gonna say, I wanna load in that Melinda, let's see, which one do I wanna do? Sorry, I'm like, where'd that one go? Okay. So under Denise, she has a folder and she's got a lot of other folders here. If we do it this way, it's going to create a double Denise folder. So we're just going to say, take that off, hit extract, and then close it. And now we've got all of Denise's items in here under her directory.
Can you just slow down and cover why you would want to be doing this? I'm not sure I'm following you.
Okay. So some people are not comfortable with using the file manager, going to downloads, going to the folder and manually extracting out the files they want and putting them, copying them into the designs folder. Purchase patterns. Oh, I need to make a directory for this new person. And all this file management. And then paste. See, all those steps there for the novice can be confusing. Now that I've done that, we've got it automatically detected and it's new person. That's great. The whole idea is to make it simple so that I've downloaded a program and I just want to get it into my purchase pattern directory there so that I can do that. Does that explain it, dear?
So you still have to extract it or not? I guess I missed that part.
No, the tool itself here, when you do the pattern zip, it's going to do that for you. Let's take
Okay.
Melinda, open, hit extract. Really, for the most part, this window doesn't apply. Close. And Melinda's stuff is here.
Okay.
All right. When this works right, which obviously Yuri had a little oops there, it will only put one copy in your preferred format, which you set in the settings. Right now, HQV is your first format, HQF, and you can shift these down or up. If QLI is your favorite, you can put it to the top. All right, here again, this is in the book. It's just another feature, but having supported for QPI for several years, I think this is the big thing that a lot of people struggle with is just file management, and they end up with a lot of confusing files and duplicates, and people have gotten copies of designs inside of designs, and I have seen some really crazy stuff. Okay, so that being said, this is clearly the format of 506, the version 506. When you get into the beta versions, which we really were testing on for a lot of this, some of this directory structure changes. All right. Do we have some questions here?
Yes. The question was, do I need to save purchase patterns in both C drive and OneDrive?
The answer is no, because what OneDrive is really going to do is it is basically copying what you have on C drive to the cloud. All right. So what's in OneDrive here is it's really on your computer, but it's also copied into the cloud when OneDrive is enabled. All right. So OneDrive is really just a program that's mirroring what you have on your drive into a cloud storage so that if your drive dies, you can go online and get access to it from any browser. So it's a good way to protect your data as well. This will be a course on the university here in, I won't say the near future, but before the end of the year, we're going to start a course, and it's going to be a little bit each week to learn OneDrive and cloud computing, because it is a challenge even for a computer nerd like me to explain. So we're going to do small chunks and do that.
So that was a suggestion about having a seminar or a course on file management. So OneDrive can be an extension of that, correct?
Correct.
All right, another question, when you were just going over what you were doing with that extraction and creating those folders, the question was, won't you see multiple versions if you choose more than one file type?
Okay, so the whole idea is this utility will only choose the first version it finds. Obviously, it's not working right now, which we found out it was working in test, but when he compiled it here, it's not doing that. So it'll only take one, okay? Now we're gonna skip the search for notes right now. I'm gonna go to find duplicate files. So this is the way you get rid of duplicate files, is you can go in here and say, okay, I've got them under Linda Mate's. I really don't need them under my purchased file since it's already included in there. I can delete the file. Okay, that is also a bug. We will get that fixed as well, and we'll double check that. I'm not quite sure why. It only happens when you're on video. All right, so the idea would be to go look for your duplicate files in your things using the duplicate file finder. And it goes through and checks them, shows you where they're at. Now, if this delete file is not working, I should be able to go here, open it in the Explorer. And it didn't open it to that file location. It worked a whole lot better. All right.
It seemed like that was working before because you and I practiced with that.
No,
So.
I don't know, but we will investigate. I've changed some things and moved some stuff around here, but
So another question was, if you're familiar with doing all of this whole process through your own personal file explorer, can you continue to do it that way? Because this seems confusing. Yes, absolutely.
Absolutely. Please do. This was not targeted at you. If you
Yes.
have a system, keep doing it. This is addressed at the 70% that are like, I don't know what I'm doing.
And just for those of you who have been a follower of mine for a while, you have heard me say this so many times. You have to create a plan and work the plan, okay? All of our plans may be slightly different, but you have to devise some sort of a method that makes sense to you, that you're going to work, that you're going to be diligent about doing. You're going to create these habits so that you always stay on top of things. Now, QPI can really help you once, things get so out of control that you don't know what you got and where you got it. And, I understand that can happen. QPI can help you a bit with that. Paul's and Yuri have built in a lot of these extra functions to help with that, but that doesn't mean you can abandon the plan. Okay, have the plan, work the plan.
Yes, this is just a tool, just like anything else. It might not have the exact tool you need or how you like to do it, but you may find that it is more efficient than using the file manager for certain things. All right, so we're going to quick move on since it's going to take a while here. The search for notes is a feature that Melissa is not using. Other people have asked about it. It's the idea of you can put Samson is a dog in here, and though that text does not affect the keyword search. So you can make notes, you can do anything in there, but let's just say if you can't remember where that was, you have the ability to search the notes for Samson or whatever. Search. There it is. Now the thing I don't like about this right now is that I can't just double click on that, but I can save the search and then it comes up here where I can click on it. Okay. And it's in the notes, not in the keywords. All right. If you want to use that, it's there. Some people obviously did use it at one point in time. All right. Moving down the line here, backup patterns used to be called create backup, but what is it doing? You basically give it a USB drive or another directory. Let's put it in the temp. I've got space here. Okay. You select the folder. It's literally copying every pattern in that search path here to another location so you have a backup copy. That's all it's doing here. But it's a good way of you know, making a copy to a USB. It's not meant for giving away patterns that are licensed to other people, obviously, but it is a efficient way to protect things. Down here on Reset Designs folder, this is for those of you that are very frustrated with, I'm in a mess and I want to start over. What this will do, if you say yes, is it will copy your current designs folder to a name that says designs. Okay, let me show it to you here, because I have actually done it. If I go into my C:, you'll see I have a bunch of different designs because I wanted to have the default loads from 506, 508, 516. But see the designs before post, no, it's this one. Designs. Let's see what it does. Let's just have fun. Say yes. Okay. And then it tells you to rerun the ProStitcher install to re-put the directory into place. Okay, because designs has been changed. And now I've got too many of them, but you get a backup designs, but then it recreates a designs folder for you so that it writes into it. And we're not going to take all that time right now. I want to go and, you know, make a copy of this and put it in there. Let's go to the 516 format. And then we'll refresh this. It'll change things a little bit here.
While that's copying, you have a question. Does it back up just QPI or the stitchable file?
No, it is backing up the actual patterns, the designs, the HQF, the QLI. The patterns are there that you could take that USB over to your machine actually and, you know, copy them onto the machine or use them there.
So somebody also said, hey, you could put the size of the design in the notes. I had thought of that as well.
Yes, if you know the design. All right, so I'm just was restoring things here a little bit. And then we will refresh. So it's going back out and rereading the designs folder.
All right, so just to let you know, honey, we're an hour in. There's some people that are saying thank you, goodbye. I think we were planning about 90 minutes today, so
yes,
you've
so
got about.
We will keep trudging through. Now I can redo this thing because I've still got my patterns in the other location. So I'm back up there and all my purchase patterns are safe, even though I was messing with the designs folder. All right, so we're just walking through these things. That resetting is another helpful tool. The settings dialog box, you can tell it to look anywhere for your patterns, okay? The settings down here, are self-explanatory. Show all folders, even if they're empty. I suggest leaving that checked. Expanding the folder, that's where it pops open. This delete trash files for you Mac users, you might pull some of your files over with a USB from a Mac. In the past, a lot of people were pulling over files that aren't needed, little informational files that start with a period. And this will automatically clean those up for you so they don't show up as broken files and clutter up your area there, okay? And the show format overlays obviously overlay the little HQV, HQF on the image. If you don't like that, it can go away as well. All right, and refresh tree we've talked about. So these are sort of the extra functions, but you don't need to use any of them as long as you're comfortable with how you're doing things. But a lot of those features were added in. And you may have noticed here that some of you over time have seen that some of these pictures have, let's just say that the thumbnails have been sketchy, okay? Right now, this program, for the most part, has automatically regenerated the thumbnails. If you find some thumbnails that don't look good, you can just say regenerate thumbnails, and it'll go through, and using our algorithm, we create our own thumbnails, which are usually better and upright. And so we worked around a lot of the flaws that we've run into in other situations. Is there another question? Can we put QPI on the tablet along with my laptop, or do I need another license? No, you can put it on as many of your own devices as you want. We are not going to nitpick anything. All right. I know this is going more, but I do want to talk a little bit about the keywords real quick. The keywords situation here is import to bring them in, export to put them out, and sync. That is a shortcut where it's going to, if you put a USB drive in there, it's automatically going to assume and create a file on the USB drive that you can take over to another copy of your QPI, and you can keep them in sync because it creates a backup. And you can click help for more. We don't have time to go through every feature, but it's one of those things where I know Melissa has multiple laptops in her studio that she shares with other people, and she wants to keep her keywords and things in sync with the other system. So that's been added. Reset will clear all the keywords. Restoring defaults will actually restore MK's defaults, okay? Pretty straightforward. If you want to protect your keywords in case something happens, you can save it just as a safety, whatever, and then take that file off on a USB. You at least have a snapshot of your keywords. Now, that being said, we have implemented multiple backups on your keyword files. We had a few incidences where I'm not sure what happened to the computer, whether it crashed or whatever, but where a keyword file was corrupted. When it starts up, it checks. If it can't read that keyword file, it'll go back to the previous one. So you won't lose as much, if anything. So we put some checks in there as well. Tricia, if you import keywords, is that what you're asking? Okay. Oh, that was you. Do I lose my changes I've made? No. Any import is an addition. That's why I leave the reset situation here. So as long as I've exported a key, and let's do it to downloads just there. Okay, I'm exporting my keys to my downloads. Now, if let's shrink this down so that you can see. We have lots of keywords. If you go in here and you reset your keywords, make sure you want to do this. Boom. Ha. Forgot that we added this. Do you want to do a backup before you remove them? It even tells you. But okay, now we have no keywords. So you can import them. But import's always an additive scenario to that. Why do I not see keywords here? One second. Everything is fun when you're on video. Downloads.
There it is. It's down at the bottom.
All right, and we don't have view extensions on. But why is it not finding it? Is this a... All right, it didn't put the extension on there, but there it's at. All right, that is something I got to write down. Export must extension.
So another question was, if I have patterns, the MK doesn't, what happens with or to them with a reset?
Okay, so it'll still load keywords and the I wasn't going to cover this, but we call it the hash value. We look at a file, we create a number that represents that file based on what's inside it. And the keywords are assigned. If it doesn't find that file, the keywords will still be in her system, but they won't appear if it doesn't have a corresponding pattern, okay? So the benefit is if Melissa's got all these keywords for things she's purchased and you go out and purchase that same design and add it to the system, it'll automatically inherit her keywords. I hope that made some sense there.
That just is like magic to me. I'm just saying.
Well, a little bit of thought went into some of what we did here instead of just doing it on names. Okay, so speaking of which, there was a well, there is a feature on here, which is an advanced feature that I did just for Melissa. Let's say Handy Quilter's blocks, which used to be in HQF format, are now in HQV format, and I have no keywords. This is what I hope Melissa will do. What she can do is she can copy all the HQF files from the old copy into the same directory, right-click, and then say clone keywords, okay? And it'll go and based on the name of the file, it'll duplicate the keywords over to the HQV files so that you don't have to manually re-keyword the different format, okay? So that's still on Melissa's list to do, but we will come out with an updated keywords for that as well, because those are some of the things that Handy Quilter does. If we're putting keywords based on the content of the file and they change the format of the file, it doesn't look the same to us. So hopefully that didn't go too far over your heads, but we added that in just so that we could make it easier as well. Any comments, Melissa?
Just this is nice. This is awesome. So Barbara Carlson said that's not what she meant by the previous question about if she didn't have my pattern. I have a pattern not in MK's keywords. Where will it go?
Well, the pattern is going to be where the pattern sits, okay? Like this one here, this could be the pattern you're talking about. Melissa doesn't have it keyworded. You can add keywords to it. I'm not sure I understand where will it go. If you're saying you had a keyword in here like Paul is amazing, okay, those are 3 keywords, but let's just do that for now. If you imported Melissa's default keywords, it's still going to leave those other keywords in there, okay? It's not overwriting anything that exists. Does that make sense?
I think so. So I have a question, and it kind of relates to something that a best practice that I've always done, and I don't know how this affects keywords. So a lot of times if I purchase a pattern and I download it, and that pattern begins with a number or a set of abbreviations because that made sense to the designer, but those numbers or those abbreviations don't make sense to me. I just want to get the name of the pattern. Let's just say they called it JFK Panto 078, and then they have the word, scroll. Well, I only want it to be in my folder called scroll. So if I change the name of that pattern and I name mine scroll, and the next person has the exact same pattern, but they leave it called JFK, 078, whatever, is it still going to find that it's the same pattern?
Yes, definitely. So in this case, let's say you wanted to rename this vine and take off the numbers up front.
Wait, where did you do that? I missed that.
Okay, so see the name of this thing is JS Pant 001, yes. Whatever. You right click, rename.
Oh, okay. All right, so I've been doing that from File Manager or File Explorer, but you can do it from right here. Okay.
Now you can. Okay.
Nice. Wonderful.
Now that didn't change the fact that the keywords are still assigned to it, though it did sort it differently in this list here. Okay, so now it's simple vine, but the patterns are there and the content has not changed.
Okay.
Even if you rotate this and then tell it to save it, you're not changing the content, you're only changing the thumbnail.
What if there's only certain ones of my keywords that they want and maybe not all of them? What is a workaround for that?
Delete.
Okay.
You can come in here and if you don't like America, but that's a whole nother thing, you can delete the keyword. You can
Okay.
also, let's just say, let's find something with several of them in here. B2B, find something, butterfly. If you wanted to rename it, you can rename it and it's going to change the keyword on every file that has butterfly. So if you want it butter dash fly, you can do it here and it applies to all of the patterns. So there's a lot of ability to change things
Right from within
from
QPI.
right within, and that wasn't the case before. Okay.
So another thing, it just popped into my head and I want to mention it before it pops out again. Paul and I were talking about how we use the instances of plural when you're doing keywords. So you might have swirl or you might have swirls. So I even have to go through and do some cleanup on my keywords because sometimes I don't know when I go to search for something, did I name it pearls or did I just keyword it pearl? So we kind of talked about it. We think a best practice is to just leave off the plural, just leave the S off of there. And then you're creating this new habit where you're just keywording in singular arena.
So I right click Keywords Manager. Here's another case where maybe you want to leave both the plural and just make it berry or berries. And so you can add it as well. So there's a lot of manipulation from the keyword side as well. I've seen Melissa go, okay, these guys used to be 2 cents and a quarter, but my prices are going up. She can just rename this and increase the prices for those patterns. All right, here again, just a tool to do what you need to do. Clearly, we got a few bugs here to fix out. I do want to put one last thing in here that might give me a little applause. I see there's still 40 some people on here. People have asked me to improve the printing capability on some of this stuff. It's not to the level I'd like it right now. If you clicked on one of these and you right clicked and say print, you will get a single sheet of paper with a full scale picture of that single one here when you click print. Okay. If you selected all of the stuff in here and then right click somewhere in here or went over the folder and said print, I guess would have been the easier way. When you click print, you now get an interim preview window in here. Okay. Now, if you want the full path on it, you can do that. You can do without that. The keywords would be on here, but I just chose something that doesn't have any keywords right now. But you can see now you can preview what you're going to get before you print it and have some options. All right, play with that. I do have future plans. Some people have asked, can we make these thumbnails bigger? You know, how do we do some other things instead of now you can see it just does bigger thumbnails? Well, what if I want to double the size so they're easier to see as thumbnails? Feedback like that, put it in the Facebook group and we will work on that as well.
One of the questions, I'm sorry, were you
That's
done
okay,
with
go
that?
for it.
Can you do a general replace a keyword like changing flower to floral?
Yes, that's simply a rename function. Okay, so let's see, we should have flower in here, right? Flower. Samson, welcome to our life, people. Okay, a simple rename here. You could do flower to flowers or floral. One thing hits them all, okay? Just with the rename.
Another, they like the print option and then the having the path there. Could the path also be shown when you click the image for preview?
Sorry, say that one more time. I was trying to capture and oops, that came up.
They like the print and the path, print
Yeah.
with the path. Could the path also be shown when you click the image for preview?
So you don't need to, if you go over here, the path is automatically popped up if you just leave things set. Is that helpful? Or were you talking just on the print preview?
Well, they like the print preview. I think they were talking about when they select a design. So if you just hover over it, you can see the path, but once you select it, you're not seeing the path.
You're not seeing the path there, but over here, it does come up. You can always right click. You got file information. You can open it in Explorer, which will also show you the path because now you're in the whole designs, urban elements, wherever you need to be, if that's helpful. All right, that's great. The path is shown when you click the image for preview, true, but it would be nice when you click the image. All right, so when you click the image, you'd still like to be able to see the whole path somewhere here. All right, so I right-clicked and went to file information, and it also pulled up the full path here. So there are ways to do it. You know, file information looks like it'll pull that information up for you from this spot.
One of the basic questions that came out immediately was, am I paying extra for this? If you've already owned QPI, the update is included. So you just go and download that. If we add on an embroidery module, that's probably going to be some sort of an add-on fee for that. There may be some sort of a price increase at some point in the future for people who don't have it yet. So get it now.
Okay, so I've got two more surprises before I tell you about the embroidery pattern plans. You might have seen this message waiting flashing down here, shouting at you, hey, there's a message. Well, if you click on that, it's going to pop a window onto our website and give you our latest announcements. But it'll only show up if we've made a change. So this is a way where I can tell you beta users that, hey, the final release is out there. This is the way you get it, or something going on. In this case, here's the webinar for today. But that was just another little way that I could attract your attention and give you some more information. Now you notice it's not there anymore. But if it's flashing, we have something to tell you. All right. Well, thank you, Patricia. She loves the new feature. Okay, so all you embroidery people, I know it's been a busy year and we've talked about it. So here's my challenge to you. I am going to take samples of embroidery patterns and present them to my developer. He did a lot of magnificent things to get the thumbnails working and doing some of this other stuff. I think he might be ready to dig in and engineer me some viewers for embroidery patterns. Okay. Now, understand he comes back with a quote. This is how many $100 it's going to cost you to do this or that. But what I would like to do is start gathering sample embroidery patterns. So if you like to use a certain format, send me one or two, not a lot, patterns that I can use as example formats for him to work with All he's trying to do is to come up with a thumbnail, to read the file and create a picture of it. But we have to understand the format of the file so we can read it, we can vector out the pretty graphics, and embroidery includes different colors, whereas this is just black and white right now. So I'm willing to do that, and I would expect that, let's just say maybe by the end of the year, Christmas, who knows, we might have an embroidery option, which would probably be an add-on option to the QPI that would allow you to view your embroidery patterns in the same program. But there will be a small upcharge for that because it costs money to do what we did.
Okay, so there was a question about, can they send you licensed patterns? Okay, so let's just be clear. I am not an embroiderer. I don't have an embroidery machine. I don't embroider. We're not asking you to flood us with patterns because we're trying to get patterns that we haven't purchased. I don't mind purchasing a couple patterns, or 5 or 10. I don't mind purchasing things because I'm never about doing something that is in any way cutting into a designer's livelihood. Okay, but we're gonna need some samples because I don't have my own samples because I don't embroider. Okay.
And Yuri and I do not own embroidery machines. We're not, we're actually, this will make their patterns more usable by their customers and things. So I don't see this as a moral decision for us. We will not share it. We will not put it out there. We just want samples to work with, okay? QPI at mkquilts.com. That's really the
So email the file to, say it again.
QPI, Quilt Pattern Indexer, at mkquilts.com.
Okay, I just dropped that in the chat.
All right.
I have a feeling you will be getting a lot.
I can always, put an auto response that says, thank you, thank you. I will put up a filter and make sure we have that, but it'll also give me an idea of how many people are really serious about this. I hesitate to let Melissa know sometimes how much money I'm paying Yuri, but this is a sweet program. We're getting there, and we're going to make it happen, but we have to keep it in perspective there as well. So
yeah, you guys, I loved this pattern. I mean, I've loved it ever since the original version was released. All of this new stuff for me is just a cherry on top. I mean, I've loved it from the beginning. And I think that you can see that for us as a company to get this out there, get it more broadly advertised, and then just adding that embroidery module on top, just a way for us to expand this to help more people. I mean, it's an awesome thing. I don't know I don't know why it wasn't done before, or maybe other manufacturers have something similar that they use. But this, for my purposes, for what I do, is just it's so glorious in its simplicity. And now he's just ramped it up where I don't call it simple anymore. I think it's pretty complex.
well, it's rich, but we kept it simple. I didn't change how it operates. It's still got the simple functionality. Now I am looking at the comments. Some people are saying we should support other quilt designs, Bernina, Viking, Plath, whatever. Maybe. I mean, there may be a day where we not only support Pro Stitcher, but we support some other embroidery tools as well. We'll see where the world takes us. We are adding contributors to our university. We want to expand out there, but Melissa can't be the expert on everything, though she's pretty good at it. All right. We are getting down to the end here. Like I said, this is a free webinar. It's going to be free on YouTube. It's going to be free on the university. It's part marketing, okay, but it was not meant to be a complete training course. We will slowly build that up in small chunks so that you can go and look at specific features. I think we've become a lot better with our addition of Colleen as our director of education, that we can build better educational courses than just this 90-minute video, which I've thrown up out on your lap here with all of this information. So we realize this is one form, but I hope if you don't use MK Quilts University that you check it out, okay? It is a monthly fee. It helps us do what we do. It helps us focus on what we do versus trying to sell a single video or whatever. There's 40 plus, 50 plus things out there. Melissa's putting things out there every week. You know, that's not a commitment, but she is going crazy lately with lots of material. We've got Ellen putting stuff out. Stephanie's coming up with some more stuff. It's really exciting here. So if you have a specialty that you want to share, you can interview with Colleen and maybe we'll make you one of our contributors as well. All right. You are welcome. So many people who are saying thank you. And I do need a glass of wine for this. Are there any other questions out there? And I hope my meter, Melissa, did not go too
Well, and just thank you so much for being followers, for all of your business. And you are our greatest marketing team. The more that you chatter about us, I see you guys complimenting us all over social media. We want you to know how much it is appreciated. And we just thank you from the bottom of our hearts. And you're all welcome to come to Florida once we can all travel again. just know, always call and make an appointment because we're kind of busy here. But we'd love to have you make a visit to MK Quilts.
All right, I let you pop up there on the screen here so they could truly see that you're much better looking than me. So for all you that are guests here, thank you for staying this long. I mean, for our big supporters, I love all these people. I'm actually starting to recognize a whole bunch of them. I just want you guys to continue to enjoy what you do. And as long as we do this together, we're not going anywhere. We love this. Melissa spends far too much time doing it, but you know, we're blessed to be where we're at, and we hope we're with you for many years to come. So everybody just stay healthy, stay safe, and enjoy our community.
And happy quilting.
And happy quilting. From
have a great night.
Studio to you. And from our house, you have a great night. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.